Just start it and I'll take care of it, so don't worry. My name is Whit Newton. Whit is short for Wilbert, so let's get that out of the way. Most everybody wants to know, where in the world did you get that name? And it was my grandfather's name and his nickname, and so I inherited it. Hopefully, from what my dad says, that's the only thing that I should inherit from my grandfather, because everything else was bad. I really do appreciate you being here. I know that your desire was that this place would be loaded. But regardless, I hope that one of the things that you will take away from this is some information that's different than what you normally would get in an enrichment program. I have worked with marriages for a very, very long time. I personally have been married for 45 years. We have two boys. They were both adopted. Do any of y'all have adopted children? Yeah, well, what's really good about adopted children is all of their issues are because of their birth parents and has nothing to do with me. So we have rejoiced in it, and so that's where we are. But they are, I think one is 38, another is 32 or something. I don't know, I lose count. So I've been doing that. We've been married for 45 years. I was raised in West Virginia, which everybody says, well, how in the world did you end up in Amarillo? And I have asked God that over and over. I was raised with the Ohio River in my front yard and the Appalachians in the backyard. And you take Amarillo and you just do the opposite, and there you have West Virginia. I have yearned to be back in the hills. I remember when my family moved from West Virginia when I was a sophomore in college. I went to WVU, which beat Texas, by the way, today. I don't think I'm a Texas fan. He moved to Baytown, Texas. He worked for Mobay / Monsanto / Bayer. They bought back and forth. He moved down there when I was a sophomore. And whenever I moved down there after I graduated to be with them, I had a bunch of, I was working just as a volunteer with a youth group, and they said, well, we're going to Medina down there, and it's in the hill country. We want you to come with us. So I go down there, and they say, what do you think of these hills? I'm going, I see some bumps, but I don't see any hills. It was really getting used to that. I had been in ministry for over 31 years. I was more in the support role and I was with youth, I was with family, I was with, developed in Central in Amarillo, developed a volunteer counseling program, Lake Counseling Center there in the church. Got my graduate work in 80 and PhD somewhere around 92, 93. So I've really been around the block. In fact, I've started a coaching program for guys because my heart really goes out to guys. They just, for some reason, they haven't got, they don't know how to do balance with work and family. They probably come from parents who have not really, or dads or moms, whatever. I really haven't been able to show them the way. And so I said, look, I'm 69 years old, I'm coming up on 70 years old. I got 45 years of marriage. I've got over 40 years of counseling. And surely I have something that I can give these guys. And so I've really started that. I just came back from what's called a marriage intensive. I don't know if any of you have heard of a marriage intensive. If you go to your phones or your computer and you type in intensives.com, plural, you'll pull up the Hideaway Experience. It is 4 couples with 2 therapists, and we go deep. Today I went out there. In fact, I was here a little early. I was here like 3:30. Okay, I said, "Oh, I'll see the town." So at 3:35, I didn't know what to do, but I actually stood in real quickly because when the therapist out there had COVID, so he had left, and so They called me up and said, oh, so I said, you bet. Been doing that since 2006. But we have people coming from all over the country. In fact, we've had several other countries that have come. We had this past one, we had Amarillo, Clovis, Reno, Nevada, and Chicago, Illinois. And it's not unusual to have that kind of a mix. These families, these couples are on the verge of divorce. Many of them say this is our last hope. And our success rate is over 85%. And what I want to let you guys know is if you know of any couple that are really struggling right now and are needing some help and they want some help, it's kind of pricey. It's like $3,900 to attend. But that is for the therapists. It is for room and board, great meals. It's on the edge of the canyon outside of Plod. And they are looking to fill a spot, and they are giving $1,000 discount. So for $2,900. I had two people actually tell me today from the four that we had were there. They said, both of them in different conversations said, I've been in counseling for 4.5 years. And what we did in 3 days was more than they had received in all 4.5 years. I know that there are some programs that just don't cut it. What I'm going to be sharing with you guys today and tomorrow is the educational part of what we teach out there. I want you to see, because I have, like I said, I have done all kinds of different models. What I'm going to be sharing with you is different than an enrichment program. It is deeper, and it deals with the issues in a way that I hope when we get done, you'll go, that makes sense. This makes sense. So I hope so. See, anything else preliminary? Who beats me with being married 45 years? You guys, anybody else married longer than that? How about that? What's the youngest? Do we have any engaged people? None? Newly married? How much?
October 2nd, we're married.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. Already having problems. No. Who knows, you know? But most of you are probably right in the thick of it.
When was the time that they had the spot opening?
December 7th through 11th. Thank you, Stacy. And so you're going to have to do it pretty quickly. So if you go to intensives.com, find the phone number, and you'll be speaking to a lady that's named Rajan, Rajan. She's from Stinnett, and so it means Ray and Janice, and they put the names together to make the jam. When we first saw it, I said, Rahan? I'm expecting somebody with a dot in the forehead. I don't know about this, but they have poured their heart and soul. We used to have one of the intensives in San Diego. We had another one in Rome, Georgia, outside of Atlanta. And when COVID hit, we kind of shut that down. And we've really just focused on here in Amarillo. It's solid. It's solid. You know, marriage is really good. And there are huge benefits to being married. You think it's just, well, I have a companion, but it's bigger than that. I have a son who is down in Austin. He's 31 years old. He's already had a divorce. And he's been down in Austin by himself for about 3 years, 3 or 4. And he calls every so often. He just complains about he's not dealing with life really well. He's struggling. And the reality is he's alone. I mean, the benefit of having somebody walk with you through life is not to be discounted at all. I'm going to have trouble looking over my shoulders. But you actually make more money being married. And you might not agree with it. Hey, really? It seems like it's going out quicker than it's coming in. But research has indicated that couples, you get tax breaks if you get married. A number of other ways that because you are married, research has indicated that actually couples make more money even if one is staying at home than a single person. That's just on average, that's what's taking place. They deal with stress better. We have seen a huge uptick in stress because of COVID. Now, you might say, are marriages faring well with that? No, they're not. We'll talk about it in a second. They are really struggling, but they're doing better than the single person. Can you imagine being isolated and confined and not having any kind of community? And so, again, research is indicating that the stresses of life that we go through, we do it better as a couple than we do individually. Being married 45 years, and I often think, in fact, on a number of occasions, I've reached over to my wife and I say, I am so glad I'm doing life with you. Aren't you glad that you're doing No, but I am, because the stresses that I've had in ministry and in private work, it's so much easier to do when somebody's with me, right beside me, walking and supporting me. She is my best cheerleader. She's my biggest cheerleader. And I said that one other time, and somebody that's known us since '93 said, he's right. She is the biggest cheerleader. Lower cases of stress and depression. Single people are going to have more stress and depression than married couples. Now again, you may scratch your head and say, I would think that because of couples not getting along with each other, that a higher rate of depression and stress. But researchers indicate as a couple, they're able to deal with it a lot better, when you think about improved health and lifestyle. As a married couple, as a married person, the lifestyle changes that they make are much healthier than a single person. I don't know about you, but as I look at my life before I married, I'm thinking, I have no idea where I would be if it weren't for the fact that I was married. I wouldn't be taking care of myself. They also realize that when stressors take place, this is the same way in lifestyle, that they drink less, they try to take care of their bodies more, and so again, the benefits of being married is well, improved life expectancy and recovery rates. What we're talking about here is people that are struggling with cancer are more likely to recover when they're married than if they are single. When it comes to other health concerns, life expectancy, men especially live longer when they're married than women live longer. Women they're always higher as far as life expectancy is concerned. But when a man is married, he is more likely to live longer. That has a lot to do with just the companionship, and in my case, it would be that my wife is taking care of me better. I mean, that's the bottom line. If I were to eat gas station food all the time, that wouldn't be good for me. But there is that continual, you're healthy, the benefits of that are all because you're married. Better sleep. Despite the fact that they're snoring. You are going to sleep better when you're with somebody than when you're by yourself. Again, I don't know who does this research, but that's the research that's out there. My wife says I snore. But she says it's a cute little snore. It's just but she wears earplugs. And so at night, when she puts those things on, she says, "Is there anything you need to tell me before we go to sleep?" And of course, that's my cue to tell her I love her. And so she puts them in and she checks out. Even when I'm not there, she puts the earplugs. I know that whenever I have had to do some traveling, I do not sleep well when I'm by myself. I don't do it. Hardly ever is my wife away, but I have been away, and my wife will complain that she doesn't sleep well whenever I'm away. There's just something about having that body. Now, how long did it take me to get used to somebody else in the bed? Probably not as long as I thought it was going to be. What else we got? Physical security, just as far as safety. It's good to have somebody there. I know somebody's going to be there for me. My wife feels very protected. Again, that physical security that she has, financial security that we have more because of each other. And just, of course, because of love and companionship. That makes sense. The benefits of marriage are huge. And I know that that's one of the reasons why you wanted to have this, because you witness in your community. I witness it every day. Marriage is definitely under attack. It seems like it's been really under attack for the last 25 years. What is being allowed, the thoughts of what is appropriate and what's not appropriate, it just does not make sense. And because of that, there are some statistics that have just not changed. First of all, let's look at some of the outside stressors that marriages are dealing with right now. First of all, the COVID hibernation stuff is real. 2021 has been worse than 2020. It's as if all of a sudden everybody said, "Oh, 2021, everything's going to be great," and it wasn't. In fact, the stat came out recently that we've actually had more deaths in 2021 than 2020. Our phone at Amarillo Family Institute is ringing off the hook. Practically every day we have close to 14 people looking for counselors, not just individual, most of them are marriage. They are pulling their hair out because they're just under a lot of stress. With the homeschooling that's taken place, I think it has been really, really hard on parents when it comes to schooling is concerned. Did you guys shut down here at all? Yes and no. So I have mixed results with it. But if they shut down, and then of course if the wife is working outside the home, how is she going to take care of both? Because the load still goes on them a lot. Women are not entering back into the workforce because of that. It's such a hassle to do. It has actually put a whole lot of stress on marriages. The political climate has not helped. There has been a lot of discussion, just the overall arching heaviness that is in our society right now that deals with the political climate. Who do you trust? I mean, seriously, who do you trust to listen to? Wherever you stand on things, how do you know you're actually getting the right message? I have some people that I know that I go to church with that, they hate the word Dr. Fauci. I mean, they will, if you say that word, they're going to come at you because they do not like this guy. The mask, who's going to wear a mask, who's not going to wear a mask. Just the political climate in general. When you go down south to the border, what's going on up in Wisconsin, it doesn't matter. We are in a very divided country right now. And I'm glad we have a president that's pulling us all together. social unrest that's taking place. Speaks for itself. We know what's going on. The supply chain. How many of you actually been to the store and seen? It's real. It's real. My wife goes to the store every day and she says, there's a whole shelf at the United Supermarket. It's empty. And so, those of you who are prepping, nobody's laughing at you now. Media, social media. In marriage and family, one of the things that we've realized is that there are more affairs than ever before. Affairs that are occurring with people that normally would never have an affair. But it's because of social media. There's a concept that we call micro cheating. Micro cheating is that text that you send or a secret message that you send to an old high school or college sweetheart that you don't tell your spouse about. You're not emotionally involved with them, physically involved with them, not, but it's like just crossing the line a little bit. That's why they call it micro. And so what happens with social media? Those things begin to take place. You start reconnecting, you start having conversations, and before you realize it, you're up to the neck in alligators, and you don't even realize it happened. Most of affairs take place, happen, and they weren't looked to be happening. It wasn't something they went out to say, I think I'm going to have an affair. It's the old frog in the kettle. It just seemed to happen. So social media is causing a lot of stress, not only in that regards, but just the amount of screen time that people are involved in. I like the idea of our phones and iPads now tell us how much screen time we have. Most of us turn that off because we don't want to know. But the families, I had a family one time that I saw them, and you guys have seen these tables. You go to a restaurant, a family, they're 5 or 6, or it doesn't have to be a family. There are a bunch of people there, and they all have their phones out. They're all looking at it, and they're not even having a conversation. Actually, what they're doing is texting each other across the table. So all of this is to say, and I know this is old hat, but the divorce rate is still right around 50%. But that means really, as far as I'm concerned, as far as research is concerned, it's worse than that. Because what's happening is also cohabitation couples think that what they do, as long as they kick the tires a while, drive it down outside and take it for a test ride, that they're going to prevent divorce, or prevent divorce, or that this relationship can still maintain, it can be open, we can be monogamous, or we can be monogamous. But the reality is that cohabitating couples have a higher divorce rate than couples that don't. And let me put a little asterisk on that. Cohabitating couples that start living together without the intent of getting married. That's what the research says. So most of them don't. Most of them will say, hey, what do you say we live together? And what happens is they unintentionally get entangled with each other. They start, they buy a house together. They put each other's name on a car. They have a child together. And pretty soon they say, well, we might as well go ahead and get married. And that is a recipe for disaster. Their rate is higher. We know that second marriages, their divorce rate is higher than first marriages. Third marriages are higher than second marriages. It just keeps getting worse and worse. And a lot of it is because of what we're going to be talking about in our discussion. And couples married, there it is, 25 years or more. One of the highest divorce rates are those couples that have been married 25 years or more. Isn't that amazing? Wonder why? That's because I'll focus on this part of my life, whether it be kids or career. I'll focus on this part of my life, career. And what happens is, after about 25 years, they're not connecting, they're not doing the things they need to. About 25 years, the kids are grown, starting to leave the nest. They look at each other and go, oh, there you are. I remember you. I don't like you. The options are greater. I think I'm getting out of this. And that happens more now than ever before. So, there are typical stages that we have to go through in a marriage. And I think sometimes couples don't realize they leave too quick. They get too frustrated. This isn't as fun as it used to be. This was the fun part, the passion. This is that immature love that just is so addictive. There is a concept that's called limerence, Limerence. It is what sometimes whenever people are going to have, when they're in the middle of affairs, they often misinterpret it as love because they're getting that addictive chemical reaction with being with that person. It's like when you're in junior high and high school, or it's like whenever you were first married. So that passion is a wonderful stage to be in. A lot of really good stuff takes place during this period. Intercourse is all about connecting. You got oxytocin, vasopressin, all of those neat hormones that are getting fired off that God put inside of us as to bond us together. And so that is really taking place about 6 or 7 times a day whenever you're first married, right? You remember that? That's normal, isn't it? Then there is realization. My wife realized it probably 2 days after we were married. It's supposed to last longer than that. Before we got married, my wife and I met her whenever I was raising funds to go to preacher school. And I met her at the church, and she was an answered prayer. We dated long distance for about 6 months. Did nothing. This was back when a long distance phone call cost a lot of money. And we did a lot of letter writing. We got to know each other real well. And so 6 months after we met, we got engaged. And then another 7 months or 8 months after we got engaged, we got married. I spent those 8 months looking at bridal magazines, looking at where to do the honeymoon. And I had it down either Acapulco or with the pools outside the room, or the Poconos with a heart-shaped bathtub. I think you're getting where I go. And so what was going on with all of that, I said, man, I just can't wait for that. So marriage starts coming to a point, and her dad, who had written a book on train travel in Mexico, had gone all over Mexico, and Janice had gone all over Mexico with him when he was she was a junior hire. She'd actually taken a narrow gauge railroad down to the Yucatan Peninsula. What a neat journey. And so, without him even asking me, he told me how we were going to spend our honeymoon. Okay. And so what we were going to do, imagine for a second, we get married in Houston, Texas in August 15th. There we go. Her birthday's on the 25th. 15th. And we get into my 72 Plymouth Duster with black vinyl seats and no air conditioning. And we go down to Laredo, Texas. The day after we're married, my wife continues says that was the most miserable time she'd ever spent in her life. And we go from Laredo to Monterey. We take a bus, and then we go on a train from Monterey to Mexico City. We enjoy ourselves. We went out to eat often, all the time. And my wife, being from that, knowing the rules, she said, she says, don't drink the water. And I said, okay, I won't drink the water. But I kept eating salads, not thinking that they had to wash them with the water. And the day we were getting ready to leave, Montezuma came and visited me. And I was so sick, and we're on the train going back. I am experiencing stuff on both ends, and our toilet was underneath our bed. My wife was experiencing realization. You talk about a bonding experience. We're going through the airport. We got, she got this beautiful luggage that she got, and this little Mexican was dragging 5 of our stuff around because I couldn't do anything. So anyways, realization happens sometimes quickly. About 4 years into our marriage, I love the fact that my wife wanted to be around me all the time. That was really attractive for really about 6 months. And then it was getting a little smothered. She didn't realize how independent I was. I didn't realize how much she struggled with low self-esteem. And all of a sudden, what I had kind of not looked at, all of a sudden goes, holy cow. What in the world did I get into? I mean, that is a very, very common stage. You don't realize that the person that you married, now you really get to know them. And they're not quite the same as you thought. Then there's the rebellion part. And the rebellion part is where they go, I'm not going to work with this. This is the control. This is the power. I want my way. Well, I want my way. And this rebellion part is significant because now you have to make some really, really important decisions on how in the world are you guys going to work together. Because then you've got to get into the cooperation stage. How are we going to parent together? How are we going to, what is our, even religion? How are we going to manage church? How are we going to manage work? How are we going to manage in-laws? What are we going to do for our holidays? How are we going to cooperate with each other? And if you do not get that going, you're in constant turmoil. There is a stage where you say, we've got to figure this out. And a lot of couples don't get that. We'll see why in a second. Then there is the reunion. Kids are gone. And now, if you have been working on your relationship all the while, it is that coming back and you go, it's just us. Yeah, we got grandkids. We got some other things, but now we are together again. And if you've been working on this relationship, it's not foreign. It's not different. It feels wonderful. This is where my wife and I are. We're enjoying it. Now, do we have struggles? Every relationship's going to have struggles. Whenever I think about some of those stages, right? You see life satisfaction on one and then time. And so you've got all kinds of issues, unwanted pregnancy or miscarriages. I think the research is in like 1 in 4 prospective births end up in miscarriage. And the shame and the stress and the grief that goes with that. In fact, I'm getting ready to do a YouTube video with an OBGYN doctor, a pediatrician, and a therapist, and we talked about perinatal depression. And this is not only for the women, but it's also for the men. That men just don't understand everything that's going on with the woman whenever they're going through pregnancy. So that's going to be, I'll show you where to get that in just a little bit. Job loss, injury. There was a time in our marriage where we were actually homeless. I had been let go from a church up in Kansas City. They were real benevolent. They gave me like 6 months to try to find something. Actually, nothing was looking good. And so we actually moved down to the hill country. We stayed in somebody's Winnebago for a while where we continued to look. And that wasn't the script that we had, but that's what was in the nut. Then we got finances, of course, and all of this. So the question is, how do couples make it successful? How do we get through this? The reason why I go through the stages is because a lot of couples give up, and it's too hard. They don't like, they keep yearning back for the passion part to continue to be there. They're not doing the work, but there's going to be some other factors that get in the way. So whenever, we'll say, I'll just use Janice in my name, even though we didn't have biological children, I'm going to pretend like I did. So Janice and I come together. Come on. Oh, that's Janice. I'm on the left. And so we come together, and let's say we develop a child. Now, this child is a little bit of Janice, and it's a little bit of me. We probably would like to be able to consider how much Janice is in this little child and how much is me, but usually it's a crapshoot. And so this is where you got it. So you got this child. Now, imagine for a second that one day you decide, let's see, we're not going to play with Junior anymore. We're not going to spend time with Junior. We're not going to talk and goo-goo and all that stuff. We're going to lay in bed and just enjoy life. Holding it, it's not doesn't sound like something we want to do. We're not going to nurture. And so we decide that we're not going to do any of that. Okay? What do you think would happen to Junior? Oops, got ahead of myself. You see what's going to happen to Junior. Junior is not only not going to thrive, but Junior is going to die. There was research that was done, people looked at old psychology books where this guy was doing research with monkeys. And he had one monkey with a baby, and she was nursing her baby, held it and everything. And then there was another cage where there was a baby monkey and a strong mama. And they slipped food to the baby, but the mama didn't hold, didn't play, didn't do anything. That monkey did not thrive. In fact, they had to rescue it from dying, because that's what would happen. Now, what also takes place is that when Wib and Janice get married, a new entity is actually born. And that's us. That's us. It's a little bit of Wib, and it's a little bit of Janice. But it is a separate identity. I'm still Wib. Janice is still Janice. But this new entity has its own identity. And the same amount of love and play and holding and time and talking and nurturing and all that stuff, come on, get out there. All of that stuff. If you don't give the same amount of time and energy and everything into the us as you do an actual child, because it demands it. If you don't give it, what's going to happen? Oop, go back. Same thing. Same thing is going to take place. It will die. And that's what happens. People get distracted, and they do not spend the time nurturing that. Now, somebody watch your phone, would you? Because I know you guys. Okay, good deal. All right. So, I'm going to run past this one. So, what do you have to do in order to connect? What are some things? And the first thing I want you to realize is that being friends with each other first is very important. Don't ever lose that. Research was done by Dr. David Olson out of the University of Minnesota, and he found that couples that see their togetherness as a priority. That 97% happy couples agree that that is something they need to do. Happy couples, 97% of them say, yes, you got to make it a priority. Unhappy couples, only 28% of them say, yes, you need to do that. Closeness as far as enjoy spending free time with your spouse. Those that are happy, say 97% of them say, yes, absolutely. I like spending free time with my wife. Only 43% of unhappy couples say that that's important for them. And this is also very important. Friends and family do not interfere with the couple. Friends and family do not interfere with the couple. 81% of happy couples say that's important. 38% of unhappy couples say that's important. What's the key here? Make marriage a priority throughout your marriage. Make the relationship a priority. Do not let outside influences get in the way. Now, this, go back here. Go back. Go ahead. There we go. All right. That's me and my wife. That's me on the right. We found a love for outdoors with each other. This is us climbing the Buffalo Peaks in Colorado. And they're twin peaks. When I first married her, I would have never guessed that she would have enjoyed that. But when we got married, we said, what can we do that both of us like? Our first tent was the back of a Chevy Citation, 1980 Chevy Citation with mosquito net. We only did that once. We decided we were going to splurge and get a tent after that. Okay, so this is us again. If I'm working, there we go. And that's down me on the bottom, and that's her behind me. This is all Plata. But to make marriage fun and to have friendships is something we decided we wanted to do. So I just say that real quickly, and now I want to say this. Friends first, and the other one is to commit. When you make the vow to commit to marriage, there are actually two promises that you make. Commitment number one, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to commit to staying married to you. But if that is the only commitment you make in marriage, it will not last. Although, not today. Maybe in the past, years ago, that would hold up, but not today. So I encourage people to make this second. And I'm committed to do whatever it takes to make this the very best relationship you can. That's different. And what I find is that people do not agree to do that. They show up, they take care of business, they take care of the kids, they bring in money, but they are not spending any time on their relationship, and it's dying. So you see that's very important. These passages I want to bring out to you just to point out, when we get into this relationship, there are some behaviors that we know we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be, and I don't care whether they are you're Christian or not, but these passages speak to them real loud. There are certain behaviors you want to do that indicate that you're trying to create the very, very best relationship you can. Colossians 4. God has chosen you and made you his holy people. He loves you. You should always clothe yourself with mercy and kindness and humility and gentleness and patience. That's working on your relationship, right? I mean, imagine relationships where all of this was there. Bear with each other and forgive each other. It goes on and talks about how you're supposed to do that. even more than all of this, clothe each other with love. Proverbs 12:18 talks about careless words stab like a sword, but wise words bring healing. So we know we're not supposed to be talking sometimes the way we do to our spouses. And this points out that the wise words, the caring words, the nurturing words are going to give healing. Then we have Colossians 3. And now also put these things away: anger, bad temper, doing or saying things that hurt each other, and using evil words when you talk. That doesn't help the relationship. And so, Ephesians 4:26-27. When you're angry, do not sin. Be sure to stop being angry before the end of the day. Now, I want to say this real quickly, and that is, it doesn't say you have to deal with your issues before the end of the day, because sometimes that can't be. But it says don't be angry. And those are two different things. James 1, always be willing to listen and slow to speak. Now, the question that I ask is, we know what we're supposed to be doing. We know we're supposed to be spending all of these, doing all of this. We know we're supposed to be nurturing each other. But what gets in the way? Why do we act the way we do? What keeps these wonderful, life-giving behaviors from taking place? Something happens. And as soon as we eat, I'll tell you what's going on. Okay? So Gary, did you want to do something? Did you need to pray?
Yeah, I just wanted to